Welcome back to XTV's Masterclass. We are now on the roundtable discussion part of the day. My name is Caroline Rundell, or on TikTok, my name is Trading Angel. And when I'm not making TikToks about trading, I'm also a journalist at the BBC. So the topic which we're going to be discussing on today's roundtable is one which I think is really important, and that is to do with staying safe when learning about investing on social media. So I'm really excited because I'm joined by such a great group of people today. So first of all, we have Annika, aka Finpact, who has a degree in accounting and finance. She has a great YouTube channel where she talks an impressive detail about crypto and NFTs. And if you check out her earlier TikToks, she also does an impressive amount of accents. Welcome, Annika. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about yourself?
Hi, yeah, it's lovely to be here. So I joined the sort of social media journey about 7-8 months ago when I left my job. I worked at Morgan Stanley in investment banking, and I worked on the buy side at a private debt fund. And I fell in love with the power of social media and how you can reach audiences and teach them stock market basics as well as cryptocurrency basics.
Oh, thank you so much. It's so nice to have you here today. Next, we also have Timothy Paul, aka Temper Time, who is pretty much TikTok royalty with nearly 500,000 followers. Welcome. I believe
Hi,
you
Caroline.
also have a degree in accounting, or you are an accountant, is that right?
Yeah, so I actually have a degree in economics and finance, and it was kind of around about like third year of university where I decided I think accounting was the way to go for me. So I currently am a training accountant at Deloitte in London. So yeah, that's can be challenging, but it's good fun as well. Yeah. So yeah, thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much for being here today. It's so nice to have you here. And finally, we have Poku Banks, who has over 300,000 followers on TikTok and more than 8 million likes. He creates TikToks about finance. And before we start, I would love you to do your
Hey, Poku Banks, baby. Let's get it.
There we go. Now we can get this started. Now you've done that. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about yourself before we get started?
Yeah, so I'm studying at university, finance, accounting, and management. And again, I just want everyone to learn about personal finance and investing because, again, I just want to take your lives to the next level.
Oh, amazing. Okay, so we are going to be coming up with the do's and don'ts of learning finance using social media. So how to stay safe. Obviously, part of staying safe also means avoiding people who are unsafe. So we're not going to dwell on that, but we are obviously going to touch on it. What I thought would be really fun and maybe a little bit cheesy is if we could come up with a really catchy acronym for the do's and don'ts of staying safe. So I was thinking maybe if we could get 5 keywords that could fit trade. So a word beginning with a T, a word beginning with R, a word beginning with A, a word beginning with D, and a word beginning with E. So you don't have to think about it right now. We'll discuss the matter, and then hopefully towards the end, it will all come together and we can have a really catchy acronym for people so they can remember how to stay safe using social media. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Good. So let's just go, start at the beginning. So Annika, I'm going to start with you first. What made you decide to become a finance creator?
Well, I always liked, so it's quite an interesting question. I think markets are very unconventional, and trying to make it valued a certain way, the way a bank does, I don't think necessarily is the way forward. I think there are very stringent procedures, whereas I always thought markets were psychology, a sentiment, not a one-way, one-fits-all strategy on thinking what's a good stock and what's a bad stock. So when I thought of it that way, that's when I thought, wait a minute, let me teach it the way I see it rather than just the way Wall Street teaches it. So that was one of the things. And the second thing was wanting to reach out to more women and teach them that about investing, because there is a disproportionate amount of male to female investors.
Yeah, absolutely. I've noticed that as well. Timothy, same question to you. What made you decide to become a finance creator?
Wow, so I graduated from Sussex University back in September, or about August 2020. And I was due to start my accounting job in September, but it got delayed due to COVID. So I kind of had like 4 or 5 months of just kind of not having much to do. And I downloaded TikTok kind of just randomly. and I saw, you know, other creators on there like Poku Banks, the man himself, and a few others. And I just decided, you know what, I think that I have my own story to tell with kind of what I've learned and the way I see kind of the financial markets and the kind of my own trading journey that I've been on, specifically in like the Forex industry as well. I thought, you know, maybe, you know, I could kind of provide some value in certain areas, specifically around kind of like the younger generation, because I feel like there's such a like an educational gap. Like there's such a kind of a gap to fill, I think, in terms of just educating kind of the younger generation on like basic finance concepts. And like the more like I make the videos even now, the more I realize how much people out there just don't really know. So I think it's about bridging that gap and kind of filling that demand for me that I kind of see as like my long-term goal within like being a finance influencer.
Yeah, thank you so much. Your videos are incredibly informative. I've been watching them and they've got a lot of value to them. So I think that they're very helpful to young people learning about finance. And Poku Banks, can I ask the same question to you? What made you decide to become a finance creator?
Yeah, so for me, what it was, I was leaving sixth form, so year 13, and I was realizing, wait a minute, I don't know anything about investing. I know nothing about debt. I don't know anything about how I can take myself to the next level or start a business. I only knew that through experience. So I realized, wait a minute, if I'm leaving school without these things, then that means everyone else is too. So I thought, you know what, let me start researching and learning and digesting all this information online from podcasts, books, and mentors. And then it got to a point where people in my area were asking me for help. And I realized if they're asking for this, I think the rest of the world needs this. And the problem with today's day and age, people have short attention spans. So people won't want to watch long podcasts or read long books. So I thought, you know what, if I can read this and digest it in my way to make it understandable for the young generation and for my peers, then it'll make the world a better place. So with me, I just saw that gap in the market where not a lot of people learn this in school. So I'll be that person to teach them and show them online. Yeah,
absolutely. And what was saying back to you, Poku, what was the best piece of advice you were given when you first started your investment journey?
Understand that losses are a part of the game, because the thing with investing, right? Okay, especially with smart kids in school, they feel like they need to pass all their exams and get the top grades. But when they get into trading or investing and then the market tells them they're wrong, it's hard for them to comprehend that. So when I was told earlier on my journey that losses are part of the game, it builds with wisdom and you learn from your mistakes and you refine your skill, you refine your strategy, that really helped me when it comes to handling losses, because some will think, oh, I'm losing, this ain't good, let me stop. But you need to understand it's a journey, it's a part of the game. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Same question to you, Timothy. What was the best piece of advice you were given when you first started learning about investing?
Yeah, I think for me, it's very much, I agree with what Poku said, like not to rush the process. It is a journey. And I think everybody's journey is individual to them. So I think that a lot of time we get caught up in comparisons and comparing to others and how quickly they manage to, you know, maybe become profitable and stuff. And I think that really focusing on you and how you can progress and just compare yourself to where you were a month ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, and how far you've come since then, I think is the most important thing that I wish I knew that I did. Well, something I wish that I did more when I started out, for sure, because it can be tough, and it can also be like a lonely game being a trader as well. So I think that it's key to just kind of keep focused on what you're trying to achieve and yeah, your own progress that you make.
And do you think that there's maybe unrealistic expectations for how quickly people can expect to learn trading? Because I think, and you know, that was something that you kind of mentioned, Poku, with everyone's got a short attention span these days. And I think the one thing that I've noticed is everyone's asking me, you know, how quickly can I make £1 million? And I think, you know, you have to learn how to trade first. It's like if you were going to be a doctor, you don't say how quickly until I can operate. You sort of go through the process first, and that takes several years. So do you think there's there's unrealistic expectations for how quickly people can learn the process?
Absolutely, yeah. If you compare it to getting a degree, it takes 3 years, sometimes 4, sometimes 5. So there's no reason why you shouldn't apply that same kind of criteria of timeline to learning a skill so vast and extensive as trading and investing, you know, in the world of finance.
Yeah, thank you. Annika, what was the best piece of advice you were given when you first started learning to invest?
One of the best pieces of advice I was given was having a longer time horizon. So, having your portfolio of short-term trades, but also having long-term trades. So, and not panicking when you see market volatility, because historically, I was shown this graph that the S&P 500, even during the recessions, even during, I know, every crash we've ever seen, it's still higher. So seeing those dips and not panicking and holding tight and believing in the fundamentals of the company you've invested in, especially if you're going long on something, then making sure that you just stand by it.
So can I just ask, what's your investment style then? I've seen you do a lot on cryptos, you do a lot on NFTs. Do you also invest in stocks? Are you more like a long-term? Yeah.
Yes, so I actually also film. I'm a market researcher for Tip Ranks and an anchor for Tip Ranks TV. So I cover stocks on that channel and I do cryptos on mine. So I invest in both. So for me, I think it's so important to have a diversified portfolio and having exposure to every asset class, because I think when you have exposure to every asset class, you're more risk proof when you see volatility. So in my portfolio, I have gold, and with the Russia-Ukraine crisis, gold is a safe haven asset. Money's flown into my gold assets, but my other assets have gone down. So it sort of hedged my portfolio, and I'm so grateful. Even though the way most people want to do it is that they see market runs in the crypto markets, all-time highs, and they're like buy, buy, buy. But actually, I say that's when you sell. When you see all-time highs, and buy times like now when people are scared and afraid. So basically, my philosophy is going against your emotional instincts where you want to buy and FOMO in at top prices, and actually buy when people are scared, because then you will have the least amount of risk and the highest possible amount of return when the markets do go back up, and they always do go back up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the next question I'm going to ask, I mean, it sort of ties in a little bit with this, because obviously we've been talking about how it's a process. You have to take the time to learn. You can't expect instant results. And what do you think are, so I'll start with you, Annika. What do you think are the top mistakes that traders make when they first start? And obviously you've touched on it a little bit, but do you think there's anything else that, people need to be looking out for when they first start out, in their first year or so?
Yeah, so it depends on such a number of factors. So, for example, if they're investing in something, the first one I've already mentioned, what's their time horizon? Are you investing in a company that has a great team, but maybe they're not even producing revenue? Then you should have a longer time horizon if you believe in what they're going to do. Basically tailoring your strategy depending on your trade, your investment. So I've done a lot of short-term trades in crypto stocks. When new launches take place, they have a lot of hype. So I trade in on that hype and then I exit quite quickly, because I know those sort of hype bubbles are very volatile. People don't do that. I think people are overly optimistic, and it's important to know that not every project will be a long-term investment. So differentiating that between which one will be your short-term trade and which will be your long-term investment is so important to make profits. And you only learn that over time. I mean, I remember trading as a newbie uni student, not really knowing anything I was doing, and making a lot of losses in the pocket money I was getting, which was not a good idea. And then as time went on, and I worked in the finance sector, I researched a lot, and I started developing my own investment philosophy. That's when I started making successful trades, and I had a system in place to ensure that I separated my long-term investments, my short-term investments, and had a diversified portfolio.
Thank you. Same question to you, Poku. I mean, what do you think are the common mistakes? I know you touched on it a little bit, but what do you think people are making in their first year when they're starting out their journey?
I feel like blindly copying and trying to copying other signals or other investment ideas on social media. The reason I say that is because, number one, everyone has different pockets, everyone has different trading accounts. So for someone that may be a well-seasoned investor, starting off with 6 figures, their 5% a year is great. But then if someone's starting off with £100, that 5% a year doesn't look too great. So I feel like people need to understand that people are in different stages. So when you're copying someone blindly, they may see something different. They may be looking for the long term. So they don't care about the short-term volatility. Whereas you can't sleep at night when you're down 10%. So you need to understand that everyone looks at the market differently, and everyone has their own different risk tolerances. So when people come in, even me, you know, I'll copy people blindly. Oh, he's investing in this stock, let me do so too. Yeah, he's in it for the long term. I'm just trying to make a quick flip. So I feel like you have to understand that everyone's in different stages in their investing career, and you have to apply that and compare to your own strategy and how you want to do things.
You know, I'm really glad you said that about signals, because actually I think that's a really, really important part of this. And I'm going to go on to that in a little bit, because I think that, I don't know about the rest of you, but I feel like I get so many messages from people just asking me, A, can I trade their money for them? B, can I send them signals? And I just personally think that part of you know, trading well is actually having the information for yourself, rather than just having someone else do the work for you. Because as you pointed out there, you know, what's right for one account is not right for another account. So, and I think a lot of new traders don't really get that. They sort of see the holy grail to making money as a trader is just copying other traders.
Yeah.
So yeah.
With the signals, I just see as like, if you are going to take signals, at least use the signals to learn from it. So, oh, he entered at this price. Why is that? Go back on the chart and check it out and try to analyze and see if you could have predicted that. But if you're taking it blindly, you're just relying on someone who can stop at any time and stop your money coming in.
Yeah, I do agree that signals have value in some way. And the only value that I see in them personally is that when a trader first starts out and they really don't know anything, and they don't even know how to place a trade on their, you know, on MT4 or whatever they're using, then I would say, sure, follow signals just to, you know, get a prompt as to what to do. Get yourself used to putting in a stop loss, get yourself used to how the markets move, but don't expect to make money from them. I mean, would everyone agree with that? Yeah. And so Timothy, when you, or Tim, I'll be less formal.
Good.
What do you think are the biggest mistakes that new traders make when they first start out?
For me, I think the biggest mistake I see traders make, anyone getting into the industry, is they chase the money, they don't chase the skill or the knowledge. Yeah. That's the problem I always see. It's like, you see some investor who maybe has like a 6-figure account, they make a 2-3% trade, it's a few grand in the space of like an hour or 2 hours, and it creates a glamorous lifestyle that just isn't realistic for everyone else, or for, you know, for a beginner who doesn't have that kind of capital, and they think that could be possible for them. And like, I mean, it kind of ties back to the signals. That's why signals, I think, seem so attractive, is because they think they want to skip the part where they kind of gain all the knowledge required to get to the point where they want to get to, and they see it as the easy route to just make some money. So the real problem is, just not focusing on the fundamentals of what you need to learn first before you actually invest a single pound. Like, you shouldn't really be investing if you haven't done your research into, say, the company, or, you know, its fundamentals, its long-term projection, its potential for the future.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's the mistake that I really see.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's kind of touched on the realistic aspect of it. I mean, what do we think in terms of, I mean, obviously, you see all these traders or financial influencers and they're flashing their bikinis around. You say to someone who thought, you know, who believed in that? So I'll start with you, Annika.
So when I see people flashing their lifestyle as a way to sell, I think that's ethically wrong, especially given that they know that the audience will not more often than not be able to do the exact same overnight. Like, they're not going to make a couple million overnight. I mean, if they do, it's one of those newspaper stories that's rare. So I think when they do the lifestyle and they flash it, and it's giving people unrealistic hope and trust on them, which is dangerous, because you don't know their story. They could have gotten lucky. They could have known the right person at the right time, heard something, made one right call. I don't think it's not the foundations of their entire reputation, but people will trust that because people will see someone with their flashy Lamborghinis and think, right, let's trust this person who might not even have any education in finance or any experience, but happen to have got in at some right time or made the right deal. You know, I mean, it's a lot of YouTubers that started off in the beginning in the financial sector. Most of them don't have financial experience, but because they started early, they're giving a lot of advice by showing, look, we've made it. This is how you can.
Yeah. And I mean, do you think that these people who are sort of doing these flashy lifestyles, do you think that that really is the result of trading, or do you think that perhaps that is from, as you say, maybe it was inheritance? Do you reckon they got out loans? I mean, what's your view on that?
Yes, so I'd say I've probably figured this out as time went on in my YouTube journey. So I used to watch these exact people, and when I started YouTube, I realized that a lot of these people have a business system in place. They aren't just making money from trading. They have Patreons, they have sponsored deals, they have all these other ways, which gives them a lot of capital to either make a trade they really believe in or invest in a portfolio. And then suddenly to the masses, they're showing a portfolio of millions and millions, but actually they got that through a business system, their social media enterprise and showing it off. And the traders that are in social media, those ones, well, they're not exactly flashing their money, are they? They are usually quite low key in their bedroom or in their office trading away. So yeah, I think those are my thoughts on that.
Do you think you've got a responsibility as a financial creator to give a realistic, view of your life?
No. So yes, but I don't show my life. Sorry,
Yes.
I don't show my life.
Like.
I think it is a responsibility because people put your trust in you. In short, it's dangerous. Yeah. I personally even not show your life, your money. I just make about the facts. It's not a portfolio. I don't even do those videos showing how much there is in my portfolio or anything like that. But I think that's a personal preference. Some people capitalize on that, which I think is dangerous, and they show off their lifestyle to gain trust. But that's not the way I've ever wanted to do it.
Yeah. And I mean, same question to you, Poku. I mean, do you think as a financial influencer or someone in the, finance niche on social media, do you think that it's a responsibility to, how you choose to portray your life or your lifestyle? What's your preference in this sense?
Yeah, I definitely feel like I have a responsibility because people may look up to me and they want to emulate me and whatnot. Me, however, I like to fall through with the personality, no, not the personality, the truthfulness and the honesty, and I like to relate to the audience. So different to Annika, I'd rather show a little bit, oh, I'm doing this, I'm buying this, I'm going here, just to show you guys that it's possible. And I feel like honesty is what sells. Again, it is personal preference, and but I feel like I'm trying to build that relationship with my followers. It's not great to sell a lie though, so it's not good to act like, oh, this is very easy. You gotta show that it's really hard, and you gotta show the truth of it. So as long as you do that in moderation, I think if you have that balance, you should be fine.
You are right. You are right. I do think there's an element of hope you give when you show a little bit of your lifestyle. I do agree with that. I think the only reason I don't is because I'll show them maybe, okay, this trade made me XYZ, or I made this investment and it did so and so about that particular investment. But I think the lifestyle thing, I also feel that as a woman, I'd get judged a lot already. I already get judged in the financial industry differently, even though I've got a degree and worked in finance. I feel like if I suddenly started showing off my lifestyle, I get very terrible comments that a lot of the male counterparts of in my field don't get. I get comments on how I look rather than the information I'm talking about, or, oh, you just shopping, or just very sexist comments. And I think that's probably why I've shied away from showing anything that's to do with lifestyle.
Yeah, I think that makes sense from that point of view.
Yeah, I understand that as well. I mean, I've chosen not to for the same reason. Sort of also get people asking money. I try to responsibility as a creator. Do you think we have one to
Just going back to the point about what always a thing that you really have to come to learn, and it might be, you might learn that the hard way, but it is something that you will always learn. My forex kind of trading and stuff, that's not something that I've made a lot of content about personally, because I feel like I want to be at a level where I'm confident to really give out kind of more advice and stuff before I really do it. So I think that there is a level of responsibility to also show the ups and the downs. So I would never follow anyone that only shows the wins, the flashiness, the upside. They have to also show the downside too, because they both come in tandem. You can't get one without the other. So from that perspective, I think it is good to show your lifestyle, as long as you are showing it in the right way, and also kind of to make sure that you're at a point where you feel like you've accomplished maybe a certain amount, and you can kind of use that and show, yes, it is possible, and you can kind of share your journey. So I think those are the two things that I would say about that.
Yeah, I agree very much. And this next bit is going to be a little bit awkward, but what do we all think about being paid for sponsored posts as financial creators? I'm sure we've all accepted money to do a sponsored post. Do you think there is a conflict of interest there? Does anyone have an opinion on this?
It depends. I definitely have an opinion on this, because my YouTube business runs on sponsored posts, and I think it's about being selective on which ones you do, and being clear to your audience about which ones have risk. So any sponsored post I've done, I've always said what I truly think of it, but also if it is a risky one, which many of them, especially in crypto, can be, especially new launches, even if they're credible and have great teams backing them, I always say, look, it's a risky one. So make sure you don't invest anything you're not willing to lose. That's just the nature of the markets. And being transparent about that, then you're giving them the option to be like, look, I've been paid to talk about this, but these are all my honest opinions on it. You can take that as you may, and I'm not a financial advisor, which I'm not. I've worked in finance and I talk about what's worked for me, but it's important that they're just seeing your experiences. A lot of the sponsored companies I've actually invested in myself, or I think their projects are really cool. And even if they're not so much as cool projects and they're in the meme coin hype, I've always said to my followers, meme coins are very risky. That's not to say you can't make profits, but treat it as a fun little game. Don't put your life savings in that, because that's dangerous. So I've always said that, and that's why I think when you do it that way, because at the end of the day, if content creation is your full-time job, you do have to also earn a living. And how can you do that in the most ethical way is by being completely honest about it. And if you don't like a company, just don't take the deal. I've done that many times. I see a company, I'm like, this is rubbish, I'm not taking it.
Yeah, I'd say about 90% of them are.
Yeah.
So what does anyone else think? Do you have thoughts on this, Tim, Poku?
Yeah. I would say I definitely learned, I think, early on when I first started to get big on TikTok, particularly, and the deals started coming through. I could admit I agreed to. I won't name the company for obvious reasons, but yeah, I agreed to a deal it was a crypto trading bot or something like that, and I agreed to the deal before I really researched them. And once I came to making the video, I realized, it's just not something I should have done, basically. And I remember getting a message from some people after I posted it saying, I've just done some research. Their reviews are terrible on Trustpilot. And I was like, yeah, this is a position that I don't ever want to be in again. So I definitely learned from that to really do my due diligence, especially when it's around, like Annika, you said about the crypto being such high risk. It's really important that you do research these companies beforehand. So yeah, that's one thing that I've learned along the journey.
I'm laughing because I know exactly which company you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because I've gotten multiple emails, and it's quite easy to tell from what's a scam and what's legitimate, because now I think as social media influencers, when I get emails, I look at the ending of the email, that's a big giveaway. That's dangerous. I think there are loads of encrypted emails you get messages from, and also they give you these weird zip bags to open, and I don't know, they might have viruses. They ask you to put in details, your wallet addresses. Basically, they're trying to steal money from you. And I have a group of YouTubers that we're all in the same group chat, and we message and we say, guys, is this legitimate? Is this a good deal? So it's good to talk to others and be in a community, because it's funny, that chatbot one, I got another message from them yesterday, so I blocked them.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wish I'd have done the same. That's all I can say. Yeah. But
Well,
we are learning on the job at the end of the day, you know. So, you know, it was kind of, I guess it was kind of naivety on my part, kind of as I was starting out on my journey, I guess.
Yeah, I think everyone's been through that, because you have to learn the hard way almost, don't you? I mean, this brings me quite nicely onto, you know, what do we look for when someone approaches you? You know, what do you look for as a safe company to work for or to endorse? What do you think, Poku?
Well, I look for again, I look for reviews, like Tim was saying. I look for reviews. I look for familiarity with myself, because I'm also in the industry. So if I've heard of them, then it's already a bonus. But if not, I go ask some of my friends, you know, have you heard of this company? What do you think of it? I'd say that, and just in terms of when they come in contact with me, it's just familiarity with my own content. I've noticed that with some emails, you can tell they're sending out a bunch of emails to a bulk, like a mailing list, whereas like some that come to you, oh, hey Poku, I watched this video, I like it, and they quote certain things from videos, so you know they're watching. That's when you know, okay, they have a full-on interest. And furthermore, I like companies that are doxed, so essentially like the founders, their whole faces online, their name, you can find out who they are, so they're unlikely to pull any rug pulls or whatnot. But for me personally, I think I stay away from being paid to promote any asset. I just feel like for example, like some crypto coins, I just feel it's just a rough industry. And as we'll move on to later, you know, some people have even been sued, you know, Kim Kardashian, Floyd Mayweather. So it's just a tricky situation there.
If you got an email from someone and you were to go, no, I don't want to work with this person, what would be in that message that would make you go, red flag, danger?
It's just more like the way it's laid out, like Annika was saying, the way it's laid out, the font.
The font, what font don't you like?
No, it's just like you can just tell, like it's just some weird, not a weird font, but it's just different to normal email text. You know, I don't know.
Sometimes if it's like in italics, it looks like it's been copied and pasted from somewhere, and you can just tell straight away.
And you have
like loads of emojis.
Right?
You have random numbers. You've got some like text in I don't know, Russian or Chinese. I don't know, all random numbers. And also, I think I've any of the emails that end in like, I can't say, but some dodgy endings. They're not, I mean, I don't know if I don't think every email from that ending is dodgy, but just, some of them tend to be like that. And generally my email box filters out the junk in the junk, but I still get some through. And I look at how emails are structured. Is there, you know, a sign-off message, like a logo and a social media manager? Then you know it's probably from an official company. But I've also had deals from very legitimate companies that don't send an email like that, send it more casually. Then I will look at, you know, their social media, how many Twitter followers do they have, how much engagement do they have, who's talking about it. I'll ask the community. I'll do my due diligence before accepting something like that. And also what you said about it being doxed, and also when they message you saying hello friend, hello friend, come on now,
instant turn off, right?
Or your social media handle rather than your actual name.
Sometimes. I'm okay with that, because I don't actually say my name very much on my channel.
Oh, okay.
I just say, hi guys, welcome back to Finpact. And sometimes they know my name, but generally I try to keep my identity slightly anonymous.
Now, sometimes they'll put like at Finpact sometimes.
Yeah, they put at Finpact.
Danger.
That one,
yeah. But I don't mind when people say angel, but when they say trading_angel, then I'm like, oh, you just copied and pasted that, didn't you?
Yeah, I think in terms of what I usually look for when a company reaches out, first, like the reputation of the brand and like kind of the awareness that people have of it, but also it's more a case of, do I think that promoting that brand is going to benefit my audience, and is it going to provide them with any value? You know, if I think that it's actually going to be useful to them, like it's a savings app or something like that, that could actually, you know, help them, you know, with their financial journey in some way, then I'm going to be more likely to actually to be willing to promote it. So it does kind of come down to what you think your audience would benefit from. So I think that's like when I'm like agreeing to a deal, I think that's the main thing that I usually look for.
It's a fine line between looking for what your audience wants, but also what you want to put out. I kind of try to keep it a balance. So sometimes things I put out don't get very many views because even though I think it's important and in fact the most sensible way to go forward, people aren't that interested. And then sometimes I'm not really so keen. So there was one sponsored video I did on a meme coin, but it was a really hyped up meme coin. And actually my audience really wanted to watch that. And even though I was like, you know, it's a meme coin, it is risky, but I'll cover it for you guys because I know you guys want to see it. So I did the due diligence for the video for them. So I think it's keeping a bit of a balance in that sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I didn't want to go into it too much, but obviously we have to discuss it a little bit. There's obviously a lot of scammers out there. And I don't know if you guys have had experience with copycat accounts and people trying to use your identity to get money out of other people. Oh, there we go. I'm seeing some faces here. So I mean, for me, this is a daily battle. Yeah,
I get messages on a very regular basis, almost every day. Someone's telling me this guy pretending to be you is messaging me saying, you know, I can, you know, make you this, you know, invest in this or whatever it may be. And I'm like, yeah, it's tough. It's honestly, it's like, also there's like these TikTok accounts and they like spam my comments and they reply to every single comment, like saying, you know, WhatsApp me on this number to make 10 grand. I'm like, yeah, that's not me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Do you know what I actually do? I actually go into search on my name at the beginning of every day and I find the new ones that have been created and I just block them before they've got a chance to message on my posts. But still, they're still sneaky, aren't they? They managed to get in there.
I don't know how they manage it.
They're relentless, but it's a full-time job getting rid of them all. So what would you say to someone? Oh, sorry, Karen.
I was just going to say, I think the worst that I've experienced was the comments are bad, but the worst was someone I think they still have that, replicated my Telegram account, which is what I primarily use to respond to Patreons and sponsors and friends on YouTube. And they started messaging sponsors, accepting deals, taking money from the sponsors. And the sponsor emailed me saying, "You've not done this video." I was like, what?
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. So they must have paid some random person who forged my name. But it says very clearly in your description box the exact, you know, email or Telegram name. So that's dangerous for also companies.
I think the problem is it's such a new issue. You know, 5 years ago, we weren't even thinking about TikTok copycat scammers. This is just such a new thing. And I think people are still finding their feet with knowing how to trust people and who to trust. So, I mean, I think it'd be really helpful if maybe we work out, you know, how do we know if it's a legitimate account? What are the telltale signs? What should people be thinking about? What should people be looking for? Who would like to go first?
Yeah, I think for a legitimate account, look at the followers, look at the content, look at the engagement, look at the likes, look at the comments and stuff. Those are hard to be faked, especially from other reputable people commenting on such posts. I'd say look at that and just feel free to scroll down and make sure, you know, scroll down on the history and see when the photos are uploaded, because I've noticed with some copycat accounts, they'll do it all in one day. So they'll copy all my posts and upload it all in one day. So you can just tell, oh, that's not. Whereas my own page has longevity. And think about it, not being rude, but it's unlikely I'll DM you out of the blue to ask for your money. If anything, you're DMing me. So you just have that common sense of, would Poku really DM you out? So yeah, it's just little things like that. But to fix it, I feel like Instagram and TikTok, they need to start verifying accounts, man.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. It's TikTok specifically, I think, really needs to do that.
Because it's not out of the blue for a financial creator to talk about money to you, because it's like, to them, they see it as like, oh, I'm really gonna get put on now. This might be my big break. Oh, I'm gonna start working with Poku. So for them, it's like, since I talk about money, they'll take it in. They'll feel like it's an opportunity to them. Their lives change. Whereas like if a fashion influencer messages you about money, that's easy to say, oh, that's a scam. Why would So from both sides, it's hard. But yeah, just take your time before sending any money, and
Yeah.
watch the
But
language as well.
I think there's something easier than anything. It's just simply click on their description box or their profile page and see exactly what email and what username they've given. That's it.
Yeah.
Anything else is a scam.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think asking for money or any sort of personal information has to be the immediate red flags to say that it's not legit for me.
Yeah. And what platforms do we think are the best for finding investment advice on, or financial advice on? Do you think there's one that's better than another, or one that's particularly bad or particularly good? Any thoughts there?
XTV.
Yeah. Social media platform. I think TikTok, to be honest. That's my personal view, but that's just from my experience. And I think that, I think there's really, really good content, really strong content on TikTok. But I don't know what you guys think.
I think there's strong content on all platforms, but then there's also bad actors on all platforms as well. Just knowing how to, because actually, to be fair, I feel like with TikTok, in my opinion, I think that could be the worst.
Same.
At times, actually.
I was gonna say that.
At times, but I think that's great. But you just need to know how to easily diverse and pick who to listen to and who not to, because there's certain crowds. But when people can just go viral off little clips and
Also with TikTok, it's the thing about TikTok is, of course, there are great creators and everything, but you have to grab the viewer straight away, right? And it has to be certain duration of time. I think sometimes it can be trickier to judge who's telling the truth and who's actually got credible analysis, let's say, than, I mean, obviously I'm a little bit biased towards YouTube, but the one thing about YouTube is that your videos can be 12 minutes long. You can have charts, you can show. So if you're, talking rubbish, then it can be spotted throughout the video. Oh, they've not done this. They've not given any fundamental analysis and no technicals, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I feel like with me, I've learned the most on my journey through YouTube. Like the YouTube kind of content that I watch is somebody who posts like hour-long videos, because you can really kind of break it down and digest it, and you get all of the information out of it that you really need to. Whereas, like, you said, Annika, it's so tough to do that in a short TikTok video, and because of the nature of having to grab the attention of the user so quickly, it creates that incentive to kind of manipulate and almost kind of falsify and make it a bit more flashy and a bit more fake than it really is.
Exactly.
In order to kind of get the views and gain the traction that you might want, because especially with TikTok at the moment, since it's been booming, it's so easy to just blow up overnight. Like that's pretty much what happened to me on my first video. It got like 200,000 views in like a day, and that was when I realized, wow, the power of this social media platform. So when you can really blow up so in such a short period of time, it really does create that incentive to try and maybe be less truthful and more engaging than you should be.
But Tim, you mentioned about TikTok. I think maybe all of us might think this, but I think they complement each other. You can see it. You could be a nouveau investor or just someone interested in finance, see a cool TikTok about a project or a savings method, and then you can shift to YouTube and find a more in-depth video. So I think it goes hand in hand. It depends on how much research you do based on both.
Absolutely, yeah. It is ultimately it is down to kind of the user, whoever's watching, to kind of take the right steps, like you say, to gain more information before blindly following. But they definitely can complement each other.
What do we think in terms of the future of investing? How do we think that the landscape of investing has changed now that we have these social media platforms to talk about it on? What do we think this holds for the future?
I feel like it'll become a big minefield in a sense, because there's so many opportunities being flung around. There's NFTs, there's lots of cryptos to invest into. There's so many investment vehicles, and I feel like the younger generation, they're just gonna flock to where the hype is. So I think for the future of investing, I feel like investors need to be more diligent and actually analyze whether this is right for me. Does it suit my investing style? Me personally, I like liquidity. So NFTs isn't really appealing to me. It's only worth what someone's willing to buy it for. It's not. Whereas with crypto, there's liquidity on the exchanges. I can sell at the tap of a button. So I feel like a lot of people just want to chase the next biggest thing, and especially with the new social medias, it's easy to get word across the internet. So I feel like you just need to analyze certain opportunities and think, does this truly fit with my investment style, or am I just chasing the hype?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're coming towards the end of the session. And as I said, I wanted to try and come up with an acronym. So what do you think about this? We've got TRADE. T, testimonials. Is a person backed up? R, realistic. Is what they're proposing, is what they're offering realistic? A, accreditation. Where did they learn about finance? Are they,
Yes,
D, due diligence. Have you done your due diligence to check out who they are? And E, educate. Educate yourself about the telltale signs. How's that work out?
Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining me today. You've added a lot of value, and hopefully people feel a lot clearer on the telltale signs and also how to stay safe when learning about trading using social media. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Caroline.
I hope you enjoyed.